Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. I'm Scott, welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, feel free to have a look around at my other videos, and if you're returning, thanks for all your support, especially to those of you who've subscribed or liked or shared a video. All those actions really help the channel, so thank you so much. Today I'm going to talk about my symptoms, and I'm going to list them in sort of my top 10 symptoms. And number one will be the one that affects my life the most. It's been quite hard to sort of order them in that way because my Parkinson's is very unpredictable. So some days certain symptoms are worse than others. But I've tried to sort of list them in terms of 10 being the one that least affects my life and 1 being the one that most affects my life. So yes, let's get into it. So number 10 is insomnia. Sleep problems are very common for folks with Parkinson's. It's normally disease progression, but it can also be the emotional wear and tear that happens living with the condition. My pattern of sleep is very similar to a lot of people's, in that I'll wake up normally around 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and then between then and waking up at sort of 4 o'clock proper, I'll have periods of about 4 or 5 times I wake up. And that's generally caused by my bladder. I have quite an active bladder, but it can also be caused by waking up in a bit of an off state, having a bit of pain from dystonia. Number 9 is speech problems. For me, this symptom really started to happen maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And in the last couple of years, it's become a bit more pronounced. And it's normal for me to experience speech problems in the early evening around 5 o'clock, and in the afternoon. Occasionally it will happen in the morning, but it's pretty regular that it happens in the early evening. And it will manifest in a slightly slurred speech. My speech, the volume will go down considerably. I'll mumble. I have developed a bit of a stutter. Number 8 is everyone's favourite, constipation. My digestion will slow down, and I'm vegan, so I eat lots of fruit and vegetables, quite a high fibre diet. I found that adding ground flax seeds and eating dried prunes help. I also take medication to help with constipation. It's difficult because if you do suffer from constipation and your digestive system slows down, it means that you find it harder to absorb the medication, so less of that gets to your brain. So yeah, my sort of tips for managing constipation is drink lots and lots of fluid, preferably water, and lots of fresh fruit and vegetables, so foods that contain a lot of water, and yeah, ground flax seeds and dried prunes. Number 7 is mental fog. So how I experience mental fog is, again, it's normally in the afternoons and certainly in the evenings that I have mental fog. Occasionally it will happen in the mornings, but like most of my symptoms, my conditions tend to get worse as the day goes on. So most of these symptoms that I'm talking about will happen either first thing in the morning when I wake up after not taking medication overnight, and as the day goes on, so afternoons and evenings. Mental fog is exactly that. It's like sort of finding your way through a fog. I'll find it hard to sometimes form thoughts in my head. I'll find it hard to string words together to make a sentence. I'll find it difficult to multitask, to use the computer to send an email or to fill out a form. And also mental fog will affect having a conversation with someone. I'll often lose my train of thought or completely forget what I'm talking about, which makes making these videos very challenging. Number 6 is bladder problems. So for me, I have a bladder that's very active, particularly at night time, so if that feeds into insomnia. And I'll find that I urinate very frequently, so I drink a lot of water, but I'll have to visit the toilet quite a lot. And as I say, that my bladder gets very active at night times too. So how that affects my life is that when I go out to socialise, to a restaurant or a cafe, or somewhere, or a theatre, when I do go out, I always need to know where the toilets are, in case I need to make a sort of rush to go. So it can be, it's inconvenient at night times, and my bladder doesn't empty properly, so I'll go to the toilet and 5 minutes later I'll need to go again. And sometimes I have a hesitation before I urinate, so sometimes it will take me a few minutes to actually initiate urination. Number 5 is my gait. So especially in the mornings when I wake up unmedicated, or when my medication is very low in terms of levels, I will stiffen up due to dystonia, and that will feed into problems walking. So my walk will become, the steps will become quite short, quite a sort of shuffly walk. Sometimes my feet will sort of be stuck to the ground a bit, and I'll sort of have to pull them forwards. Often my posture will be affected, so I'll be kind of stooping forwards a bit. And my hips will feel very tight, and the muscles around my core will feel quite tight. So all that contributes to making it quite difficult to walk. Number 4 is my balance, which directly links into my gait. For me, the main problem I have with balance is walking up the stairs. When I walk upstairs, I have the sensation of being pulled backwards, which is quite a little bit anxiety building, because when you walk upstairs you don't want to be pulled backwards. I had a fall back in 2021 and broke my jaw, so balance is quite a problematic symptom for me. Again, it's worse in the mornings and the evenings. In the mornings it's because I don't have enough medication in me, so before the meds kick in my balance can be quite tricky. And in the evenings, I think it's due to the fact that my body's more fatigued, having spent a day with Parkinson's, and also because my medication is not absorbed so well in the evenings. Number 3 is a biggie, anxiety. So there's a common misunderstanding about Parkinson's. Anxiety can be something that comes from your emotional response to having the condition and living with the disease. But also, as the disease progresses and your dopamine levels drop, that can also cause anxiety. So Parkinson's as a disease itself can cause an anxiety. So it's not something that can be controlled necessarily with medication or with talking therapies, both of which are great for anxiety. But I found that neither of which completely eradicate anxiety. I've actually found that the most useful thing for my anxiety is exercise, meditation, and getting out into nature. Number 2 is dystonia. So dystonia is a cramping of my muscles and a contraction without any release. So over time the muscles become very stiff. When I take my medication, the dystonia eases. And I'm going to throw in sort of pain into this one, because dystonia and pain go hand in hand for me. I experience my most dystonia in the mornings when I wake up, partly because my body's been sort of more stationary overnight, certainly because I don't take my nighttime medication, so I wake up in a slightly unmedicated state. Number 1 is fatigue. So with Parkinson's comes things they call Parkinson's fatigue. I don't think they really know what causes the fatigue, but I guess it's probably a combination of the physical wear and tear of living with the condition, because your physical body is, for instance, if you have problems walking, your physical body is always compensating. My first symptoms manifested on my left side, and the left side of my body is still the most affected by Parkinson's. So my right leg and my right side of my body is always compensating for my left side, and this causes natural fatigue. The thing that, again, a misunderstanding about fatigue is that it's sort of tiredness. But for me, the only way I can sort of describe it is my fatigue is how it differs from tiredness. Is with tiredness, I'll feel it more physically in my body, and I'll have a good night's sleep and the tiredness will decrease or go away. With fatigue, it's something that I feel not only in my body but also in my mind and my heart and my whole being. And it doesn't matter whether I had a good night's sleep or a bad night's sleep, none of that matters. The fatigue can be there or it won't be there. Most of the time it's there in the afternoons and evenings. It tends to get worse as the day goes on. How it affects my daily life is that it will prevent me from leaving the house sometimes. It prevents me from, certainly when I lived alone, it prevented me from taking care of myself. So basic self-care like cooking food or washing clothing. I think fatigue is very different from apathy. When I experience apathy, which I do, I don't feel that as a sensation of a physical sensation. It's more, for me, it feels more in my head and heart. But again, this is all very individual. Other people experience fatigue in different ways. But yes, surprisingly, it's not really a physical symptom, I suppose, but fatigue is the one that affects me the most. So a few honourable mentions. I also have problems regulating my body temperature, so I'll often feel very hot when it's in fact quite cold, and vice versa. And when I switch on, when my meds start working, I often experience quite a lot of sweating and I'll heat up. When I switch off, I'll become very cold. So yes, I think my body finds it difficult to regulate its own temperature. I've also lost the ability to write with a pen, and typing on a phone or a keyboard or buttons or zips on clothing can sometimes be challenging. I've noticed more recently, the last couple of years, that if I'm walking with somebody, I often walk slower than them. And in the mornings when I'm making tea or coffee before my meds have really kicked in, my hands are quite slow in movement. So I think this is bradykinesia or bradykinesia, I'm not sure what the pronunciation is, but basically slowness of movement, which is a reasonably common symptom of Parkinson's. And two slightly lesser known symptoms, at least to me, are I find myself very sensitive to light and sound. And this often comes hand in hand with mental fog and fatigue. This is a bit of a strange one, but quite regularly in the evenings, one of my nostrils will run, or both nostrils sometimes. And for a long time I thought this was hay fever or an allergy, but it persists in autumn and winter when hay fever is less common. And you know, I haven't changed any washing powders or anything like that, so I don't think it's an allergy. Yes, I'm wondering if anyone else has any symptoms that are a little unusual. If you do, feel free to pop them in the comments below, or if any of this video resonates with you, feel free to share your stories about your own symptoms. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.